of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, welcome everybody. Thanks for being here tonight. The roll call tonight, everybody is present. We got the agenda before us. Any additions, deletions? If not, the agenda stands as presented. So tonight we have a presentation from Dee Davy. We're ready for you. Hopefully the projector works. Thanks for your patience.
Yeah, I'll say a few words first, and then I'll ask you to cue. So I'm Dee Davy. I'm a precinct delegate in Washtenaw County, and I represent Salem Township along with a few other precinct delegates in the room. And I want to introduce a topic that's going to be coming, that may be coming to Michigan, and it's ranked choice voting. Ranked choice voting is a more complex method of handling elections, and I want to give you just a little preview of what it entails, because there will be people in July going around with clipboards asking you to sign a petition to get ranked choice voting on the 2026 ballot. Ranked choice voting has been outlawed by 17 states, and 6 others are putting in legislation to ban ranked choice voting. Unlike traditional, there's some little handouts. In the top right-hand corner are 2 sample little ballots. Traditionally, people will vote, say, for the presidential candidate. They'll have maybe 5 presidential candidates listed, and you vote for one. With ranked choice voting, you are forced to rank all of the candidates running for that position in order of your preference. So you have to rank them all. You have to, therefore, research and know about all of these candidates. And if you don't rank all of them, your ballot will be thrown out. If you vote for the same candidate twice, your ballot will be thrown out. If you make a mistake and you don't realize it and you don't spoil your ballot and cast a new ballot, your vote will not count. So to explain it, if a candidate doesn't, so say you've got 5 candidates. If one of those 5 candidates do not achieve 51% of all the votes, the candidate with the least amount of votes is eliminated, so they're off the ballot, and anyone who voted for that eliminated candidate, those votes then go into the second round, and those votes are added to the first choice of the second round. The process repeats until one candidate has achieved at least 51%. If at the end of multiple rounds of voting, a tabulation, if there's a tie or if there's a runoff between 2 candidates, so neither of the candidates got 51% and there's a runoff, the decision will be made either by a judge or it'll be made by a machine. A tabulator machine will just make a calculation. Who knows how that's programmed? Or there will be a total new election, which is really costly. If I haven't explained this correctly, it's okay, because it's a really complex subject. And it confuses voters, and because it's confusing voters, less voters are likely to come out and vote. So it's disenfranchising voters, and it's voter suppression. Be aware of ranked choice voting, and I'm going to show you just 2 little clips that will explain ranked choice voting much better than I've been able to. But when people come and approach you to sign a petition to get this ranked choice voting on the 2026 ballot, think twice before you put your name to that. Because in 2026, all of Michigan voters will be voting yes or no for ranked choice voting. Okay, so Jim, if you could just run the video.
Okay, hi everyone. I just wanted to demonstrate how a mock ranked choice voting election could work so that you can simulate and demonstrate what happens in a ranked choice voting election at your chapter launch party. So I've printed out 10 ballots. As you can see, the candidates are blue, purple, green, and red, and I'm going to show you how going through the ballots you can tally up who the winner is of the race, the winner, using the ranked choice voting method. So we'll start with just looking at the first choice column and putting a tally next to each candidate based on first choice. So on this ballot, the first choice is red. On this ballot, the first choice is blue. This one's red. This one's green. This one's red. This one's blue. This one's green. This one's blue. This one's purple. I think that should be it. Oh, no, one more, blue. Okay. So, we have here 10 total votes. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 total votes were cast. But as you can see, no one has reached a 50% or greater threshold. So even if blue had 5 votes, it still would not win because it did not cross the 50% threshold. You have to have 50 plus 1. So we're going to look at this and go, okay, the bottom loser is getting eliminated. Now we go into round 2 of voting. So we need to identify the person whose ballot was marked purple as number 1. Okay, so we'll go back and you have to shuffle back through. And here's purple as number 1. Their number 2 choice was red. Okay, so we've just retallied the votes. We've gone through round 2. We now have a tie, and still no one has cracked 50 plus 1%. So as you'll notice, we had a clear winner in the first round, which was blue, but now blue and red are tied. So we eliminate green because green is the bottom choice, and we have to identify the 2 ballots who picked green as first. So now I have to shuffle back through and find the ballots who had green as their first choice and retally whatever their second choice was. So here's green. Somebody voted green and then they put red as their second choice. So we'll take this one and we'll move it here. So now red is 5, but we gotta identify the other green vote. The person who voted green voted blue as their second choice. So once again, we have a tie. So now how do you possibly do this? Because you have a tie. Now this is a unique example of how things could go terribly, terribly wrong, and you literally cannot determine a winner based on how ranked choice voting works. This is where a judge would then have to decide. Otherwise, you would need to conduct a totally new election in order to determine a winner, because nobody's cracked the 50% plus 1 mark. And I just want to add one last thing. Let's say both people who voted for green had red as their second choice. So let's say both of those, we'll start from scratch and say that was actually allocated to this second one, actually was second choice red. So then this means red would crack the 50 plus 1%, and red would be declared the winner, even though blue had actually gotten the most total first choice votes. So that's how a loser becomes a winner in a ranked choice voting race.
Would you still head to the polls if you knew that your vote was just going to get thrown in the trash? Of course not. Which is exactly why you need to know the truth about ranked choice voting. Also known as instant runoff voting, ranked choice voting destroys everything we know about free and fair elections. Unlike a traditional election, each voter is expected to vote for every listed candidate in order of preference. Also, unlike a traditional election where the candidate with the most votes wins, a candidate must have a majority of votes to win. If there's no majority winner in the first round, the losing candidate is eliminated. The people who voted for the loser in the first round then have their second choice votes counted in the next round. This process continues until there is finally a majority winner. The problem is that thousands of votes are trashed along the way to create this supposed majority. These voters weren't willing to vote against their conscience, so their votes are gone. These voters got confused and filled out their ballots incorrectly, so their votes are gone too. And these folks ended up casting votes for candidates they never would have voted for otherwise. The result is that a much smaller manufactured pool of voters ultimately decides the election, to the exclusion of thousands of other voters. Any system that throws out legitimate votes and requires voters to vote against their conscience is problem enough. But ranked choice voting almost always ends in extreme partisan victory for the left. It's a far cry from the ideal that gives every voter a voice and a vote that matters. This scheme undermines the integrity of our elections, and it must be rejected.
Thank you, Jen. So I'll hang around after the meeting to answer any questions, but I want to point you to the little QR code and rcvalert.org on your leaflets. There's a wealth of information, detailed information and high-level information. I urge you to check it out or come and talk to me. Thank you. Thank you so much, Board, for letting me.
Thank you. I just have one question.
Yes.
Who thinks of this stuff? I mean, is somebody...
The Democrat.
I don't want to get it political, but who thinks of this stuff? I mean, it's amazing. It really is.
Somebody who can't win otherwise.
I know.
There you go, that's about right.
Thanks, Dee. Dee, do you know who you are? You do a great job. And thanks for always staying on top and being a lot of information for people. So. Okay, so we're down to public comment. Anybody tonight? Anybody? Dee? All right, Dee, I guess you're up again.
Okay, I'm not going to introduce myself because you know me now. I just want to remind everybody that our next monthly meeting is June 26th. It's at the South Lyon Salem Library. We always talk about what's going on in Michigan, what's going on in America, and we just share information about local things as well. So come and join us. We have snackies and non-alcoholic drinkies to tempt you. Not quite as nice a spread as we get here at Salem Township. But June 26th is a Thursday. We always meet the fourth Thursday of the month. And then my second announcement is the Washtenaw GOP is having a picnic. Yay, we're having a picnic this coming Saturday. So there's some leaflets at the back. Come and join us.
Dee, what time is your meeting at the library?
6 o'clock.
All right, thank you, Dee. All right, anybody else? Okay, if not, we'll move on down to the consent agenda. Clerk Wensley.
We have a motion to approve the minutes of May 13th, 2025 of the regular meeting of the Board of Trustees. Then we have disbursements for May out of the general fund of $83,589.71, payroll of $51,203.15, the escrow fund of $5,482.50, sewer fund $11,470.34, the MEDC water fund $615, and the MEDC regular fund of $20,481.75. Now for the invoices for the month of June. Out of the general fund, $65,095.89. Escrow fund, $4,084.75. Sewer fund, $11,729.89. The water fund, $1,627. And lastly, the MEDC fund, $21,654.75. Do we have a second on these?
All right, John seconds it. Any questions, board members, on the consent agenda? All right, if not, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion's passed. Okay, down to business items. Happy to announce our Hamlet Streetscape. And I'm going to have the clerk, Mr. Winsley, read the motion.
All right, we have a motion to approve the Hamlet Streetscape Stormwater Project, and I move that Salem Township approve moving forward with the Streetscape project and to review the 3 bids that Stantec has evaluated for the construction services for the Streetscape project, and to approve the winning bid to Anglin Civil LLC in the amount of $4,179,468.61. Also, to approve the engineering services that are detailed in the attached documents from Stantec Consulting. The cost of the engineering services is listed at $384,966. And also the board authorizes using the designated grants and funds from Salem Township's reserve accounts for these expenditures. If we get a second, then we can kind of go through these.
Support.
Okay, David Trent supports. So finally, after 12 years plus, we've finally have made some roadway to get bidding done and get competitive bids. So this has been a long, long process and a lot of work by a lot of people. So I know a lot of the people in the Hamlet district have been wondering this is never going to happen. Just have had so many different roadblocks and different surprises that have come along the way. One of the big issues have been the drainage that's in the hamlet that's been flooding issues for years. One of the biggest problems is a lot of the storm drain water has gone into the sewer system that has been over flooding the wastewater treatment plant in the hamlet. That's had a lot of issues. If you remember, we received grant money, a SAW grant, and the analysis from the engineers that I want to say somewhere to improve that wastewater treatment plant was going to be, $3-4 million to improvements in it. So we did some tightening up of the sewer drains and stuff like that, but still we do get high readings. So a lot of this is going to eliminate the water drainage and the flooding that's going on in the hamlet here for years. So the goal is to get it down, Bruce, you can pipe in if I tell some of the stuff wrong, but mainly the water now, if you go to about the middle of the hamlet, which would be, I was getting one street wrong. Euclid, the water, a lot of it would head west, and first it would come from the north, and then it would go underneath 6 Mile and flood a lot of the neighbors on the south side of the hamlet. Water would pool up in that one vacant piece of land, but then also flood houses and also backyards along the way. So the idea now is to have it come in the storm drains that come and filter it through down towards the railroad tracks, actually down to Pearl Street, I believe, correct? Is that Pearl Street?
Come down Salem.
Right.
then go over on South Street to Pearl.
Right.
And-
That's right. And then we've negotiated with the owner of the property here that Kalo actually owns it. And so far, we haven't signed the papers yet, but I believe he's given us that. That actually saved us a couple $1 million by being able to have a retention pond to put the drainage in, and then that filters out and heads to the Johnson Creek. So that's been good progress there. The other issue is back, I don't know, say maybe 3 years ago, across the tracks, there is a pipe that goes underneath the tracks on the airport property side, and actually crosses all the homes that are on the north side along 6 Mile, which is created big sinkholes. The drains, nobody knows how old they are, but they have disintegrated and have had sinkholes in the backyard. So that's another issue that is in the plans here to fix. We met with the owners today. Actually, the easement's going to be it's going to be better for them, and then we're going to bring that pipe, the easement, over to around up to 6 Mile, run it down to the Johnson Creek that way. So it'll be some really good improvements for our drainage, and then beautifying the township with some nice street lights, and not a real fancy, but you'll see it. I don't know, there's a picture back there, somewhat of a picture of a concept of what it will look like. I think it's on the food table over there. So make sure you take a look at that. But I think, for a long time we've been waiting for this. So, and as far as paying for it, Bruce, you want to talk about paying? I mean, you're the banker here,
We've
so.
been saving up for this for years.
Right, so.
And we've got $661,000 of it's coming out of the ARPA funds, which is from the COVID relief. We got a $75,000 grant from Washtenaw County Water Resources for the drainage. So we've got that going towards it.
So we've made a lot of interest. I think our interest that we made from just the grant money that goes for the USD is over $1 million.
Over $1 million in interest on the grant from the USD.
So we've tried, anyway, so we've saved a lot of money and have had, but this is a big project and a big expense, at least the biggest I've been involved in. So we appreciate everybody's patience in getting this done. So we're excited about it. So any other questions that we can answer on it? Go ahead, Mr. Trent.
Thank you. Just informational questions about the bid process. How many vendors showed up for the pre-bid meeting that had an initial interest in this project? And it appears that we only had the 3 submissions, but how many vendors did show up for the bid?
I think we only actually had 4 prime vendors on there, but there's subs that also showed up. So a lot of these vendors that use a subcontractor like an electrician or for the electrical wiring or something, concrete versus excavation and pipe. So some of the subs were here for the original bid, but there was, and I felt like we fell short by one bidder that could have and did not get his bid in on time.
The vendor that's being recommended by Stantec, I know they reviewed projects that each of these firms have completed in the past. Can you mention a couple of the projects that Anglin has been successful in? Throw that off the top of our head.
I can't. I've watched them over the years. I've seen their equipment out. I've seen them working on projects. I have to trust that Stantec can vet them out.
They did mention one, I can't remember. But Stantec did. I can't remember which project they were on.
But they're not a new or a small company. They've been around for years.
Mr. Whitaker, you mentioned a concept photograph of what the streetscape or the street lights would look like.
Yeah.
Has anybody, whether it's the planner or the engineering firm, developed a rendering of what this project will eventually look like?
We don't have,
That's kind of what that is on the back of the room, is the rendering of a street view.
And once this project starts, as it is going on with all of the infrastructure work that's taking place along the roadway and under the road, have we been advised as to the impact on 6 Mile as far as road closure or just down to 1 lane periodically, and for how long this might take place?
I was with the engineers today. They want to get together with the chief, and because we do have trucks that go out on that road, that could be, so we got to figure that out. So, well, I'm sure we'll be having plenty of meetings with Stan Tech here, is organizing road closures and everything that's going to happen on 6 Mile.
Part of the bid process, the plans do include some of the barricading and suggested routes and whatnot, but obviously you have to finite that better based on like for the fire trucks and everything else, and we're going to be tearing up the entire road because we have to lower the road. But the engineering was substantial because we have to actually lower part of 6 Mile in order to make the grades work. We're so flat across here, and we don't have enough runoff to make this work. So a section of 6 Mile, an entire section of 6 Mile is going to be totally replaced and lowered at a lower level so that we can still get the curbs and everything else and still have our doors of our buildings above the road crown. So we get the road drainage into the road, down the ditches and whatnot.
I may have missed it as I tried to review the entire list of everything that's taking place in this project. I assume the road work, the repaving of the road is included in this bid?
Yes.
Very good, thank you.
Okay, anybody else?
Do they have a start date?
I believe once the contract is signed, they were kind of him-hawing around at the time, so.
Yeah, we have 2 additional hurdles. One's get the contract signed, which is not a big hurdle, but the second was making, you can't do anything to get the permits, the final permits, which are already in process. The goal is to be doing it this construction season, as completed during this construction season, which will be basically end of October.
Really?
So that before deer hunting.
Get it all done.
Yeah.
Now, there might be some final landscaping
Right,
and things
yeah.
like that, depending on if we get delayed starts and whatnot. I think, we'll obviously have to have future meetings if there's any date issues or changes, but we do have a lot of work that can be done off, with the preparing of the detention pond and whatnot, so that can be done without tearing up the road first. So when we get to the road section, we're going to concentrate on the road.
Okay, just in regards to the contractor, I'm familiar with them. They've been around for quite a while, and I've worked alongside them on projects in the past years, and they're
That's good to know.
yeah.
So does Stante with it.
Yeah.
He did show up to the bid, but we didn't get one from him, so. Anyway, okay, so any other questions? I have a roll call vote. I'm abstaining from voting because I know most of you know I own a piece of property in the hamlet, and I certainly don't want to have an influence on anything. But, so I'm going to let the clerk call the roll call, but I'm going to abstain.
All right. We have a roll call for Daniel,
Yep.
DeLuca,
Yes.
McLaughlin,
Yes.
Reeve,
Yes?
Trent,
Yes.
Wensley, yes, and we will, and Supervisor Whitaker will abstain from voting. So we have 6 yeses and 0 noes.
Okay. Thank you, board members. All right, down to financials. I believe Mr. Reeves, or who's handling this?
I move that Salem Township approve the regular quarterly transfers of interest from the MEDC account over to our Michigan Class Sewer account. This just makes it a little bit easier if we do it on a quarterly basis rather than waiting until the end of the year caps. Once we get to that one point, you can just quickly add up 3 months worth of interest and then transfer that money. I think transfer is the right term.
I'll second that.
Okay, any other questions on this? All right, if not, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion's passed. All right, down to the reports. Chief Rockwell.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. Just, I submitted the report for run calls for the month of May. I think the biggest thing to highlight is that we were able to do some training with our citizens, donating some houses, and we were able to practice with our neighbors. And that it's really invaluable for both our department and the neighboring department. So that went really well. And we've got a couple more structures to work with. We've been able to share those structures with some of the tech rescue teams from the county and stuff, so we've gotten a lot of valuable training. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Chief. Okay, down to the board discussion. So our attorney's been working very hard, up late at night, long drive homes. So just to kind of recap, Plymouth Township, I think most of you maybe have heard or have seen it, they passed a resolution 6-1 to allow us to go in the road right away to start the sewer, which was good news after a 3-hour-long meeting. And so we got through that. One of the objections, or not objections, but comments that they put into the resolution is that we would withdraw the application for a wastewater treatment plant once all the other townships agreed to let us come through the road right away. So we've agreed to do that as long as we have permits, to have a sure way of getting the sewer to Yucca where it needs to go. So, and then another stipulation was that we wouldn't give anything to any other township. So they didn't look foolish. So, and we're not. So that's where we're at on it. And you want to talk about anything about Plymouth? I mean, that's basically what happened. So.
Correct. That's basically what happened. We were disappointed because Supervisor Whitaker and I had intended on being at the Canton Township Board meeting tonight for their approval, but they at the last minute put it over to June 24th. So unfortunately, I'm not available that night. So you'll have to wing it alone.
Yeah. So we have no idea what I had met with the Canton supervisor and the deputy for breakfast one morning, and I think we had talked about the demands, which was roughly like $5 million of improving their infrastructure in order to let it come through. We responded then by the letter that the grants wouldn't allow us to do that, and that we are not going to do that to come through the road right away. So we had a good meeting, and they kind of agreed and appreciated us being very upfront and telling them how it was going to be. And then they were more worried about Plymouth than they were themselves, but now we've come down to, I thought everything was okay, and I think it was Thursday? I think Thursday you got an email from 2 more attorneys to talk about what it would look like, the agreement would look like of wanting more things or whatever. So I don't know how long you talked, but we didn't concede anything other than we want the right of way to put the sewer in. So nothing was agreed on. The meeting was still going to go forward. And then Friday, I think Friday is, didn't see it on the agenda, and I called the township, Canton, and they said that the supervisor was not going to be there at the meeting here tonight. They're at a conference, and that we could still have the state come down, our engineer come down, and our attorney. But then at the last minute, they said they put it on the agenda on Monday, and they didn't. So I just got a note today saying that they weren't going to do it, but we knew Monday that it had been canceled. So the developer is being patient, and so we're just, the state said that they would be there on the 24th, along with myself and our engineer. So that's the latest and the greatest. So if you have any questions, I'd be sure glad to. Yes?
So the sewer, what's it gonna go through Plymouth and then the Canton and then what?
Yeah, and then through Van Buren Township, and then it actually tips, where Yucca is Ipsy Township, so it'll be getting there too.
You're just avoiding Superior Township altogether. huh?
Right. And they've all said that they've got improvements that they want to make in their systems, and the only thing we've said is that while we are out there with our contractors and the engineering, ours done, that if you have an open cut, they could put whatever they need to put in to get their stuff down to improve their system or whatever, but not to hold up our cause delays. But it probably would be cheaper for them to have them hire them while they're right there to do some stuff to handle some of their storm drain problems and stuff. So that's the latest on that. Any other updates?
Nothing I can think of.
All right. Just want to say comments on before public comment again. Is that we had a wonderful Flag Day here last Saturday. Thank you for all those that participated in the parade, and the fireworks were great. We had a beautiful day, beautiful evening, and it's, as I say, it's one of them for me for 12 years of being here to be the supervisor of this town and watch the neighbors and the families and the parties, and it's I'm proud to be the supervisor. It's just it's a great town to be a part of and to live in, and it's a great community thing. But I do know that the people who have been doing this for years, they desperately need help, and we need to figure out a way to band together to figure out how to continue this thing and get all the help we can. So I don't know if you know any, I know Linda's on the board, and the Skinners, I don't know if you know them, and Cal. Daryl. We just, they would appreciate any help or anything. That just a lot of just setting up tables and traffic control and cleaning up, and a lot of just simple things, but we can always use that. So if you don't know who they are, I can sure point you in the right direction, so come to me. So we want to continue that for years. So, okay, any public comment before we are dismissed? Since we spent all your money tonight? All right, if not, thank you, folks. We'll see you next month, and have a great night. Thanks for coming. Good night.